Hey everyone, imagine this. Two superpowers fight an epic battle. One side carves massive reliefs showing their king trampling the enemy emperor under his horse. The other side writes books saying, "Yeah, we actually won. The guy just tripped." Both can't be true, but both existed. Both were written by the winners, or at least the ones who got to write the story. For almost 700 years, Rome and Persia, the two juggernauts of the ancient world, kept smashing into each other, and every single time they told completely different versions of who won, who was civilized, and who was the barbarian. So here's the million-dollar question. When ancient texts flat out contradict each other, who actually gets to write the truth? Today, we're diving deep into one of the biggest problems in history, conflicting ancient narratives, why they happen, how historians untangle them, and why historical truth is way messier and way more fascinating than school ever taught you. Stick around to the end because I'm going to show you something wild. Even the fabric of the universe keeps a permanent, uneditable record of events. And that changes everything about how we think about truth. Let's go. Historical revisionism. When ancient texts lie, who wins the story? Picture the year 53 BC. Marcus Licinius Crassus, the richest man in Rome, marches 40,000 legionaries into the desert to grab eternal glory. He runs into a Parthian army a quarter of the size at a place called Carrhae. Roman writers like Plutarch and Cassius Dio tell us it was a catastrophe. Arrows raining from the sky, Roman shields useless, Crassus's own son killed in front of him, and finally Crassus himself murdered while trying to negotiate. Supposedly molten gold poured down his throat to mock his greed. Persian tradition? Totally different movie. They celebrate Carrhae as a brilliant triumph of cavalry tactics, divine favor from Ahura Mazda, and proof that the new Parthian Empire could humble Rome whenever it wanted. Same battle, same day. Two completely opposite stories, both written by the winners, both swallowed as gospel by their own people. And Carrhae is not special. Pick almost any famous ancient event, the fall of Nineveh, the wars between Han China and the Xiongnu, Alexander's battles in India, and you'll find the same thing, multiple mutually exclusive truths. So what's going on? Why can't ancient sources just agree? The answer is simple, and it's kind of disturbing. Ancient historians weren't trying to write objective history. They were writing propaganda, identity, moral lessons, religious justification, sometimes all at once. Rome needed its citizens to believe it was invincible. Persia needed its subjects to believe the Shahanshah was chosen by God. Both empires were perfectly happy to exaggerate victories, downplay defeats, or just straight up invent details that made them look good. And here's the kicker. Most of the time, they weren't even lying on purpose. They genuinely saw the world that way because their entire culture filtered reality through their own lens. So when sources clash, it's not a bug, it's a feature. And that clash actually tells us more than any single true account ever could. Let's break down the 4 biggest reasons ancient texts contradict each other. Number 1, politics and patronage. Almost every ancient historian wrote under the shadow of a king, emperor, or temple. If you wanted to eat, your version of events had to make the boss look good. Lose a battle? Just call it a strategic withdrawal or blame it on treason. Win a small skirmish? Congratulations, it's now the greatest victory since the dawn of time. Number 2, cultural worldview. Rome saw history as a story of human virtue and moral decline. Persia saw history as proof of divine cosmic order. China saw it as cycles of the mandate of heaven. Mesopotamia saw everything as the will of the gods. Different operating systems equals different facts. Number 3, oral tradition and time. Many stories floated around orally for decades or centuries before anyone wrote them down. Every storyteller added flair, cut boring parts, and shaped the tale for their audience. By the time it hit parchment, it had mutated, sometimes beyond recognition. Number 4, survival bias. We only have the texts that won the lottery of history. Entire libraries were burned. Losers didn't get to keep their version. So the record we have is already pre-filtered by who had the bigger army or the better fireproof archive. All of this means contradictions aren't mistakes to fix. They're windows into how ancient societies wanted to see themselves. Okay, so if everything is biased, how do we ever know anything? Great question. Historians have an entire arsenal for this. First, source criticism. We ask, who wrote this? When? For whom? What genre is it? Royal boast, private letter, temple chronicle, epic poem? Because a victory steal and a tax receipt are trying to do very different things. Second, triangulation. We never trust one source. We cross-check Roman texts against Persian inscriptions, against Armenian chronicles, against archaeological evidence, burned layers on city walls, coin hoards, mass graves, trade goods. Third, material evidence as referee. When Roman writers say, we totally won, but the battlefield dig shows 90% Roman skeletons and Parthian arrowheads everywhere, somebody's narrative has a problem. Fourth, reading the silences. If a king's inscription brags about 20 victories, but never mentions a certain frontier again, he probably lost it. What's not said is often the loudest clue. Fifth, modern tech. Ancient DNA, radiocarbon dating, satellite imagery, GIS mapping of army movements, even climate data from tree rings and ice cores, all of it helps us test ancient claims. And finally, healthy revisionism. When new evidence shows up, we update the story. That's not rewriting history, that's doing history correctly. These tools don't give us perfect truth, but they give us something better, a truth that's earned, tested, and honest about its own limits. Uncovering historical truth is a complex journey, often obscured by time and conflicting narratives. To truly understand the past, we must examine multiple perspectives and diverse sources, especially when empires clash. Our case study: the longest rivalry in ancient history, Rome versus Persia, a conflict spanning nearly 7 centuries from 53 BC to AD 628. These two colossal powers fought across a vast geographical scope, from the Trans-Caucasus to Mesopotamia, with numerous vassal kingdoms and nomadic nations caught in between. Despite the relentless conflict, the frontier remained remarkably stable, with towns and fortifications repeatedly changing hands, but neither side gaining a decisive, lasting advantage. Logistical constraints meant neither empire could sustain lengthy campaigns far from their borders, leading to a protracted, attritional struggle. Both Rome and Persia masterfully employed propaganda, crafting narratives to shape their image and demonize their adversaries. Consider Emperor Valerian in AD 260. Persian reliefs at Naqsh-e Rustam vividly depict King Shapur using the captured Roman emperor as a human footstool. The inscription proudly declares, "We captured the Caesar Valerian with our own hands." Roman sources, however, were initially silent, then claimed Valerian died of natural causes, a dignified and with nothing to see here. Archaeology and Persian court documents confirm the brutal truth. Valerian was paraded in chains, forced to kneel, and possibly skinned after death. Both empires also weaponized religion. When Persia persecuted Christians, Roman writers screamed, "Barbarian monster." Conversely, when Rome invaded, Persian priests wrote of the Christian dogs attacking the realm of light. Both sides were absolutely convinced of their own righteousness, portraying themselves as the good guys in a cosmic struggle. The reality, revealed by diverse sources, is that both empires were aggressive, committed atrocities, and used religion as a propaganda weapon. It was never about good versus evil, but purely about power and dominance. Specific events further highlight these conflicting accounts, such as the Battle of Carrhae in 53 BC, a major Roman defeat often downplayed in their own histories. Similarly, the sacking of Antioch between 252 and 256 AD saw Persian accounts potentially exaggerating the extent of the destruction. Reconciling these narratives requires rigorous method, diverse evidence, and a critical eye for potential biases in every source. Now, for a mind-blowing cosmic twist. While human records are fragile and biased, the universe itself keeps a permanent memory. When two black holes collide, they send gravitational waves rippling through space-time, leaving behind a tiny, permanent deformation known as gravitational wave memory. This deformation stays forever. The universe literally remembers the event with zero possibility of revision, propaganda, or spin. Of course, we can't use this to settle who won at Carrhae, but the contrast is profound. Human history is erasable, interpretable, and contested, while cosmic history is permanent, though almost impossible for us to read. It's a powerful reminder that some truths are rock solid, while others demand constant work, debate, and humility to approach. So, what is historical truth? It's not about picking the winner's story, nor pretending all versions are equally valid. It's the best reconstruction we can build with rigorous methods, diverse evidence, and the courage to revise when new facts demand it. Contradictory ancient sources aren't a problem. They're a gift, forcing us to think harder and understand that every civilization saw itself as the center of the universe. The past doesn't belong to the loudest empire. It belongs to those willing to listen to all sides, weigh the evidence, and admit when we still don't know. If this video made you rethink something you thought you knew about history, hit that like button. Drop a comment. Which ancient event do you wish we had better sources for? I read every single one. And if you want more deep dives into the messy, fascinating, contradictory story of humanity, subscribe and ring the bell. We've got a lot more battles between truth and story coming up. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.